Hello, everyone. This is Jesus, and welcome to the next episode of the Road to Old School MTG. In this video, I have Game 1 of the August 2024 X Points tournament held at Dave's Time Warp in Cedar Grove, New Jersey. It was a decently well-attended event. We had 22 players, if I'm not mistaken, and it ended up being 5 rounds. So I have 5 rounds of games here, all my games against my opponents, and then at the end, of course, I'll mention the final results and things like that. But as we start, let's start with a little deck tech. So for this tournament, I am taking a Mono Black mid-range deck. I guess with splash of white for disenchants. So Dave's Time Warp tournaments are proxy friendly. So I do have, I believe, from all this, there is one proxy. One of the scrub lands is a proxy, but the other 3 are real. In fact, I got one of the scrub lands, a new one I got right before this tournament. So because I had actually 2 proxies of scrub lands, but now I have 3, so I still need 1 more. And remember, this is in preparation for Lobstercon. So in August, this was the event, the X Points event, because there's going to be an X Points side event in Lobstercon, which is on September 20th, I believe. And then there's also the Atlantic main event. So next month in early September, we're going to have a final Atlantic tournament at Time Warp as the final preparation before Lobstercon, right? And of course, it's not just for the Lobstercon people, whoever wants to play, and or a lot of times, those who couldn't make it to Lobstercon, they could still get a little bit of the feel of what it would have been like, right? So this is what I'm taking here, and I am confident I'm going to be taking a Mono Black deck, or at least black with splash of something, in this case white so far. Last Lobstercon I also took a black deck, but I splashed it with blue for Ancestral, for Dibs, but I did it literally like the last second, and that was a big mistake because I didn't get enough time to test it out. So I am learning from my mistake, and I am slowly building experience with this particular deck type, or if I decide to change it, gives me more time to change it. So this is what I took. So there's a nice ramp going on. So you have Orders turn 2, Hippies turn 3, also Royal Assassins turn 4, Dare Lords turn 5, Send Your Vampires, right? So this is definitely a big detour from what I normally take for X Points, which is a Mono Black Weenie deck. So this is definitely a different game plan. So you also have your ICs to help with just getting the attack through, or if there's protection from black creatures as a way to counteract that. And to abuse the ICs, I have additional cards. So I have 2 Winter Orbs. When you tap it at the end of the opponent's turn, I still get an untap. I still get to untap all my lands. So it's a cool combo, as well as the Howling Mines. If I Howling Mine during my turn after I get the draw, I tap it with my IC, my opponent will not get the benefit of the Howling Mine. They'll just draw their normal 1 card, right? So between those 2 different cards, I have that combo, and of course the IC Royal Assassin combo is very well known. So probably the biggest reason why I decided to go mid-range is actually Hellfire, which is the black card towards the middle. It's Italian, right? So it's hard to explain there just from looking at it, but the card is 2 colorless, 3 black sorcery. Destroy all non-black creatures, and I believe that's all. And I take a point of damage per creature destroyed, plus an additional 3, right? So, and that's why I also have actually 2 Draining Lives as well, to hopefully get some life back. And I opted not to put any City of Brasses just because of that reason as well. I don't want to take any unnecessary hits to my life when I am anticipating, hopefully waiting for the right opportunity to play a Hellfire. Okay, and then the sideboard, like I said, I have 4 Scrublands just because of the 4 disenchants. And then Ivory Towers is the big thing I'm putting against either 12 Bolt or any fast aggressive deck. I can just, since I'm mid-range, I don't have to have that fast start. In fact, I don't expect it usually, right? I expect a nice gradual increase of board state. So I can hold off a little bit, or at least that's the plan that I have when I'm facing against certain direct damage type decks. Hopefully the Ivory Towers help me with that. Disenchant is just good all around. Glooms against Mono White because, of course, as me being almost practically Mono Black, those Knights are definitely hard to deal with. And then we have 3 Underworld Dreams just against any type of control type deck, and then 1 Pestilence against any Weenie deck. Because since I'm mid-range, I can definitely do 1 damage. Of course, the only one I gotta worry about is the Orders, but everything else, and the Royal Assassins, right? But normally I would probably take some of those out during the sideboard anyway, and then hopefully that 1 Pestilence can do, just clear the board enough so that my guys can go through easier. All right, so that's my deck. So here is the deck of my opponents. So this is exactly something that I was mentioning about the Ivory Towers. I may put the Ivory Towers actually in the sideboard. I don't know if I did though, during game 2, only because I was also actually, yeah, just from looking at it, I believe I should have put the Ivory Towers against this. So this is Arabian Nights aggro deck, right? So you have your Curd Apes, your turn 1, and then your Dibs turn 3, and of course additional creatures, Scoop Sprites, Pixies. So a nice big steady stream of creatures from turn 1, 2, and 3. You have your 4 factories, and since it's 3 colors, red, green, and blue, right? So the opponent does have 3 City of Brasses in addition to a whole bunch of dual lands. And yeah, so yeah, direct damage, a lot of direct damage, a little bit of counter spells. So they're using their points in the Ancestral, the Regrowth, and of course, like I mentioned already, the factories. And then for the sideboard, so anti-blue, anti-red, some Shatter type effects, Shatterstorm as well. And then I see Falling Stars, I guess, against other Weenie decks if they're going against. 3 Suchis, I guess, could be good against my type of deck, right? Something that's mid-range where their creatures are generally too small to compete. I see the Ices, which also could be good against that mid-range. And then the Shivan Dragons is a nice one against decks that put in Blood Moon, right? So then, of course, he can cast that creature outright anyway. But since he's going more for a Weenie type effect, that's more of a sideboard in case, or against, I guess I could say also another mid-range deck. So I may very well see those creatures, the Shivans, put against me. All right, so that is the deck tech. Let us go into game 1. So I'm on the left, opponent's on the right, no mulligans. I play a scrub land, I pass. Opponent factory passes. So you can see a little bit of our hands here. Okay, get it. Swamp, Dark Ritual. Nice. I only have 2 Dark Rituals in the whole deck. I originally have 4, like it's Mono Black is accustomed to. But a lot of times I felt like just getting that additional one later on in the game didn't do much. So that's mainly so I dropped to 2 only to counteract against that effect, and of course, hopefully get it in early enough to get something like this to turn to Duralor. All right, so opponent just played a City of Brass, nothing else. I tapped the Duralor, and then I paid an extra black to cast that order. So far I'm doing good. I came in for the attack. Opponent's at 16. So yeah, so but you want to cast gradually cast creatures, right? But with me casting that turn to Darrell, maybe that changes plans. So he's doing a side blast. Sorry for the glare there. It took 3 points of damage out of that from the City of Brass plus the 2 extra from the side blast. But the Derelos are basically kamikaze guys again for me, where when I cast them, I'm like trying to get them killed and cause a lot of damage, but I don't mind them getting killed, so I don't protect them too much because I want to be, that extra black mana for casting costs affects me a lot. So I played another land and then a hippie, and then I came in for 2 with the order. So opponent's at 11, I'm still at 20. And I'm getting lucky that he's not getting colored manas other than that City of Brass. Whoa. Okay, so this could be tricky because now he has 3 factories. So one factory can become a 4/4 now. Okay, he taps a blue and then he ancestrals himself. So it's very strong. But he already played a factory, right? So he's not going to play another like colored land, right? And then with just colorless mana, he can only cast maybe some of his artifact stuff, but not even. I think he's just going to hold off so that hopefully to hold off the order so I don't attack. If I get another black mana source, I can still attack with the order as well because I can pump it to a 4/1 with first strike. And I know he's not going to play anything else because he's tapped out of colored mana. He discards actually a card, Avoid Fate. All right, so here I did get that additional land, so I'm most likely coming in for the attack on both ends. Yep. So he's at 10, right? So I gotta get him low. So you can animate 1. It turns into a 2/2. He pumps itself to a 3/3, and then the other one can pump it up to a 4/4. So actually, it could have be pumped up to a 5/5 if he had 1 mana additional, but he didn't because he cast that ancestral. All right, so he takes 2. His one of the factories die, and he gets a discard, random discard. Ooh, I get a giant growth. That's good because if I came in with the order again, he could have pumped it. You see, if he had that green mana available, he would have pumped up the factory using the giant growth, and then I wouldn't have had enough to first strike it. All right, so good. He is getting now more color mana. He's just getting plays a volcanic island. I'm still at 20, so I got 2 attackers, and especially the flyer, right? That's the trickiest one to deal with. Ooh, does he have a dib? Yep, that's a good way to deal with my hippie. And of course, he doesn't want to keep discarding cards because as a weenie deck, you can go wide very quickly. Okay, so he gets a Curtip, but the Curtip is a 1/1. He doesn't have a forest. And then it took a damage for the City of Brass. So he's at 7. I got 2 creatures out. Ooh, perfect timing. I see, and I tap his dip. I come in for 2. I almost attacked with the order, but I didn't have enough to give it first strike. I get a counter spell. He's at 5, and then now he's going to take a damage from the dip of 4. So I'm still at 20. So even if he attacks with the dip, man got a lot of life to spare. Okay, he strips my scrubland, so I don't have access to white, but I don't have swords in this deck at all, even in the sideboard. Okay, so he's just trying to get an additional blocker. He taps 1 green for a script sprite. My turn. So he's okay. Play a factory. He's got 2 factories, a credit, and then yeah. So even if I tap the dip, he's still gonna block with a sprite, and he could have potentially something else in hand. Although not a green creature because not a green card because he does not have access to green at the moment. All right, so yeah, just tap the dip, attack, he blocks the sprite. And then I demonic tutor. So let's see if we can see what I get. Drain life. Yep. He's so low on life. I can drain life, and then he's gonna take another one. I have to just drain life him for 2 next turn. During my next turn, and that'll be enough for the win. All right, so his turn drops to 2. Number, I have a drain life in hand. And the hippie's gonna, I could potentially just win with the hippie if he doesn't have a response to my hippie and my icy. So it's tapping it. I'm attacking. Let's see. Okay, so he does have a response to the hippie. And then yeah, I'm not even done. And then I'm like, okay, I just drain life you then. And of course, that's a good way to also force him if he has a counter spell. It was going to cost him 1 life because he only had a city and 1 island, and then that dropped into 1, and then he would have died from his own dip next turn anyway. So the deck did what I wanted. It tapped his defenders or his the creatures. If I didn't have that IC and then I only had that hippie going against his dip, that would have been trouble, right? But of course, I know also a big part of me winning was that he did not have a lot of colored mana in the beginning of the game. All right, we are going into game 2. Still no mulligans. One goes first. Tropical Island, Sprite. So this is what he wants. Color mana and casting something turn 1. Or actually, it's casting something turn 1, turn 2, turn 3. That's a pretty insurmountable start if he gets. Okay, so casts a Pendelhaven, pumps, but doesn't cast something turn 2. Maybe he did have something, but he opted for the attack instead. So me, I'm going slow here. Just a land. Well, turn 1, I normally can't do anything anyway. Or at least usually not. But turn 2, I could get an order. Or a demonic tutor. But so this does not bode well because with him as the aggressive deck, me waiting it out like this is not good. But I'm getting lucky, honestly. Like, he did not cast something. He didn't cast a turn 3 dip. Here I'm going like, oof, hippie. Of course, like that hippie's not going to save me against the sprite because he has that Pendelhaven. If I get an icy and start tapping that Pendelhaven, that now we're talking here. Or hopefully I can get a drain life for 1, assuming the Pendelhaven's already tapped because he came into attack. But most likely he's, I was just about to say most likely he's not going to attack. But I was wrong. He's coming in for the attack with the pump. I'm at 14. So I've taken 3 hits from the sprite while pumped. So it looks like I don't have another land. Okay, I have Black Vice, which is probably not going to do much against his type of deck. Turn 1, game 1, it would have done something because he was not getting colored mana. But with this start, let's see how much it accomplishes. Okay, 1 point of damage there. My deck had 24 mana sources, like 23 lands, and then a Mox Jet, right? So I'm supposed to get a land drop for the first few turns, right? So me not getting that turn 4 land drop definitely impacted things here. I most likely had a Derrolor or something else, or Icy or something. All right, so he comes in again, pumps. Okay, so there it is. That's what I was waiting for. Of course, if we had a giant growth, that would have been sad. I see Singears, I see an Icy, but I needed to take this opportunity to destroy his sprite. So I gained the life of that, but then he's going to side blast my guy. All right, so 17 passes. I have 4 cards, I believe, in hand. He's drawing. Land. So yeah, 6 lands. Yeah, he's good for whatever he wants. He's coming in with the factory for an attack. I'm at 11. For mana, either Suchi or yep, there it is, Suchi. All right, so I brought in that card against my mid-range deck, so that way we can trade even. And yeah, it looks like I have a Derrolor there, so I gotta cast it, so that way I can counteract his Suchi. But he has a factory, so he's not gonna get mana burned. I'm tapped out as well, right? So I cannot do any surprises. For mana, ooh, so he's getting that icy combo. So he's attacking for 4. I'm at 7. And then now that Derrolor is gonna prevent me from casting those Singers. So even if I did get another land, I would need 2 more in addition to that. That's why I kept on saying that the Derrolor usually I put him as a kamikaze guy because he impedes the progression of my game plan. But I'm also supposed to have a lot of land as well, dropping, right. So I'm getting unlucky here, not having so many land drops. Look at my opponent compared to me in terms of land. And then in addition, I have that Derrolor taking away 1 land basically. Okay, so here I'm thinking, all right, do I hold the Derrolor? Okay, so this is decent, right? Because now he cannot just untap everything. So if he keeps us using his Icy, it's gonna impact his mana base, and if he keeps on attacking with the Mishras, it's also impacting his mana base. So this Winter Orb is a good plan. And then yep, he did not untap his factory because he wanted the colored mana instead. So he only has 2 mana here, so he taps my Derrolor, coming in for 4. So I'm at 3. Of course, I also only untap 1, right? So, but it doesn't matter. I'm not even gonna go to my turn. My opponent gets the Chain Lightning, right? So his sideboards was very solid to counteract my mid range. So he put it in the Suchi. Also got unlucky. I think if I had just 1 more land quicker, I could have outpaced him. But it just was not the case in game 2. All right, going into game 3. I'm all 1, but I go first. Land Mox. Unfortunately, I have no turn 1 like an Order or a Demonic Tutor. Strips my land during his turn. And then I draw and pass. Remember, I mulligan, and I kept a 1 land hand, it looks like, because I didn't want to mulligan twice. Since I had that additional Mox, I'm like, okay, 2 mana, and I know my deck has a lot of mana in it, a lot of lands. I can maybe wait it out. But he stripped me ASAP, and now I'm paying the price. I guess I should have just mulliganed, even if it cost me 2. And then he's off to the races, getting a creature every turn. There's 2 sprites out. He has 3 mana. He can cast a dip by this point. He's coming in for 2 more. I'm at 17, pays 2 for a. So yeah, so this is horrible for me. So there's a pixie and 2 sprites. So he's hitting in for 4, and then he's doing something else, and then hitting me with a chain lightning just to drop me lower and make his attacks more effective. And I'm still not getting that an order or something turn 2. Coming in for 4. Oof, I'm at 10 already. And I can't cast anything. Or at least I'm not getting anything I can cast. Finally, but that's not the best. I would have preferred another black source, but thankfully I still have that Mox Jet giving me 2 black, so I can cast stuff now. Okay, hippie, that's good, but I'm at 10. And he's got 3 scripts, right? Because he had another script, right? And then he's lightning bolting my guy anyway. End of turn. So he's coming in 2 for 5. It's gonna drop me to 5 after this. So he can potentially kill me next turn. Even if I cast stuff, like by this point, since he's going so wide, I have to cast 2 things to keep up. And I don't think I have 2 things to cast. And 3 of his creatures are flyers, right? So even if I may have a big creature like a Durlord by this point, that just deals with the pixies, not the flyers, right? So I need to cast either a Sinjir or hopefully with a. So I do see that Sinjir, right? But I don't have a giant growth. I mean, a dark ritual to boost my mana up. And honestly, even if with a Sinjir, I may just be toast no matter what. Okay, so this is decent. It's the next best thing to a Sinjir. But then looks like he's going to. Yep, he lightning bolts it, and by this point I know I'm dead. I'm just giving him the attack to properly close out the game. But then he was, no matter what I did, look what he had in hand. So with that strip mine land, and then me just taking so long to keep up, it was just the losing proposition there. I had no way of catching up. So game 1 is a good representation of how my deck is supposed to go, how I envisioned it in my head. Game 2 and 3. Game 2, I was slow to get mana, but I did get some eventually, right? So I was casting things, but I was already 2 behind. And then game 3 was even worse than game 2, where I barely had any mana for a big chunk while my opponent had a great start. So here, looking at my deck, yeah, so let's see, let's count the lands. 5, 13 swamps, 4 scrublands, 4 factories, and then strip mine in a Urborg. So 13, 17, and 23 lands plus a Mox, so that's 24. And that's on purpose because I wanted to have that consistent land drop so that I can ramp and then consistently do or at least hopefully do some kind of a card play every turn, other than turn 1, right? Turn 1, I could maybe get a Black Vice Mox. If I get lucky, maybe I could also turn 1 with a Dark Ritual, right? But usually turn 2 is when I get the good stuff going. So that was the game plan. In game 2 and 3, without that mana base to support this, right? Because mid-range, that's the nice things about the previous Weenie deck that I was doing, Mono Black Weenie for X points. I just needed 2 lands and I could cast 90% of my things, because in that version of the deck, everything was either 1 or 2 casting costs. The only thing that was casting cost of 3 was the 4 hippies. So I could definitely keep a 1 land hand in that one, because all I needed was just 1 more to get 90% of my cards in. And even with 1, I could get a good chunk of them out as well. But in this deck with just only 2 Dark Rituals, I have to have the consistent land drop. And I thought that could be consistent with 24 mana sources, 23 lands and a mox, but obviously that was not the case. And then I think I have to learn that I have to have 3 mana sources in my hand just to play it safe, or maybe 2 mana sources, but then maybe just orders and hippies, just things that cost low initially in my hand. If I have like 2 lands but then only have a Durlor and Senjirs in my hand, I think, looking back, that should be a mulligan. All right, so game 1, great. Everything went according to plan. Games 2 and 3, everything did not go according to plan. But at least going off of game 1, I definitely like the results. I like the deck. And well, I gotta get luckier in the next one. So this one is a 1-2 loss for me. So not starting off this tournament in a good light with the first match as a loss. Thank you guys for watching.